Well, hello, I'm Chris, and this is my license plate restoration video. Now, all the stuff that we're going to be using in this video can be purchased at a home improvement store or local auto parts store. We are going to be using a sandblaster to clean the old plates up. Now, I got these for $11.95. The first time in my life seeing 70 plates. Okay, so I am going to go through straightening out the dents. But the main thing is we got to get these sandblasted and primed before we even start playing around with these. So I'll show some of the sandblasting. Just a regular sandblaster from Northern Tools, $50. Okay, so I'm gonna go finish this up outside. We're getting the front real clean, the back. So in the back we didn't sandblast it as good, so we're going to use the rusty metal primer. Works great for stuff like this. Okay, now we're going to use this on the front. So you kind of get the idea, the straighter the plates, the more you're going to pay for them. I didn't even notice that in the picture, so be careful what you buy. We're going to tap the dents out the best we can. So this is just where you're going to have to get creative. You're going to have to figure different things out, different tools, wood, plastic, little hammer. Don't try to destroy it, just tap it lightly. So if it is being difficult, then you can put it on a harder background and use harder stuff to get it out. You flatten a bolt down, whatever you gotta do. Move around, keep moving around until you just start working it out. Well, it looks fine to me. Okay, we're taking a Scotch-Brite. We need to pretty much like sand, scuff, and we're gonna prime the crap out of this. Now we're gonna spray a guide coat on this so we can kind of focus in on where the imperfections are a little bit better. Try to get it just a little bit straighter. We're using the rusty primer, black paint, just something that's gonna show up. Alright, so on the other plate, the sandblaster's not taking this stuff off. So our other option is to paint remove it. If you're going to use this well ventilated area and don't let this stuff touch you, it's going to burn you up. The problem with chemical strippers is that they have to be neutralized. So you got to read and figure out what it is. This one neutralizes just with soap and water, but you have to get this chemical off of the metal, because it'll cause problems in your paint. So when you see it to start to curdle up, just kind of brush it off. You may have to do this a few times. You can wire brush it, but make sure you wire brush it away from you. So I'm going to show you this in case you're trying to get yours perfect, or as perfect as you can. We should be using 320, but 220 is fine. We need something hard. This is a piece of a paint stick, and we're going to create a little block to block sand, and we're going to try to identify all the low places or imperfections to go back and try to tap them out a little better. Okay, see, low spot. Okay, so on the 7 we knocked a little dent out, and this was punched in, and you see we still have low places, so we can go back and tap a little bit more. We can really see what's low right there and what's high. Just giving you an idea in case you don't know about that. And you're going to try to flatten it out until it just all sands even. Our flattened off bolt, and we're going to try to knock this a little bit straighter. Try to flatten that out. Do you get the point how we're trying to beat it until all the red disappears, or the best we can? See, we've already made a lot of progress on this dented in part. So see how we're knocking it out and the red gets smaller and smaller, and we're going to go ahead and just fill this up with some heavy primer. You get the idea. The only problem with this Rust-Oleum paint is it takes 24 hours to freaking dry, so it's just gumming up my paper real bad. But that's how you're just going to keep working them until all the maroon is gone, or most of it, and it's going to turn out real nice. See, that just looks like a factory imperfection, so I'm not worried about everything. I just remember how I had that big dent right here. Okay, now we got it worked out a little bit better. We're gonna put 3 coats of primer, pretty thick coats, and we're gonna have to let this thing dry or bake it for a long time because this stuff dries real slow. If you're gonna use chemicals, we gotta neutralize that. That neutralizes with water. We need to scrub it with soap and water, get whatever we can off. Okay, so we had to paint remove this one because that coating wouldn't come off. But you see, after we stripped it, we still got to sandblast it or clean it. And this one's got another dent in it just like that. But you see the progress we made so far. So I'm gonna go get this one cleaned up too. So we have 2 or 3 coats of primer on this one. If we look real close, you can see there's still imperfections where our dent was. We're just gonna try to sand this out the best that we can, and hopefully with the flat white paint we're not gonna notice anything. But we're right up on it, about 2 feet away from it. You get the point. Now we're getting ready to do our final sanding. You can use a little block. Now you want to use 320 or 400, wet or dry, it doesn't matter. A little bit of wet sanding really helps this Rust-Oleum because it likes to gum up your paper. Scotch-Brite also works real good to get it all even. So we're just trying to get out any little small things that we can. So that's just the idea on how to get all these little imperfections out. But this plate, you've seen it, it had a big old dent in it. It's got dents all over it. The reason that Rust-Oleum paint is the ideal choice is because of the colors. You have so many freaking colors you can choose from, and this paint works great. The problem with it is it takes forever to dry. All right, so we're gonna talk about painting the plate first, and then next we're gonna talk about painting the letters. So on this one, we're just gonna leave all those little imperfections. I'm gonna show you that you can get away with just putting a heavy coat of paint on there, and it'll kind of cover up this stuff a little bit. So the first step to painting the background is go on the internet, if you don't really know, and find out exactly what colors they painted them. Now some websites will be very vague and they'll say like, oh, it was white with blue letters. This kind of looks like off-white or antique white, but was it originally bright white and faded? I don't know. I have a friend that has a set of vintage nice plates and they look antique white. And these are mine when I first got them. I don't really know. Okay, so in this situation, I've already done one white and it looks way too bright. So we're probably gonna end up doing them antique white just to make them appear like they're real ones. So in this case, using a gloss, a high gloss is gonna show every little thing. High gloss reflects the light. So another little secret about these plates is you really don't have to prime them. You can just straighten them up the best you can and just paint them straight. They didn't put primer on these when they were new. So this is not the official paint job. This is an experiment because we got to figure out how to paint our letters next. Now you can put one real heavy coat over bare metal and it's going to lay out real nice. Make sure this plate is level. So Rust-Oleum pretty much takes a day to dry, They say you can bake this, but just be careful and don't bake it in an oven that you're gonna make food for kids or your family. All right, so this plate right here is actually the one that we had primered and block sanded and got it all perfect. I had painted it and completely screwed it up trying to figure out how to paint the numbers and letters. I sandblasted them both down to metal and we just painted straight over bare metal. And you see how when you don't put any primer or try to do any sanding, you can see every little imperfection with the gloss. Okay, so the main thing is that we're spraying with the oil base, so whatever we're coloring or painting these numbers with needs to be oil based or it's just going to react, curdle up, and be a big mess. Okay, so in my experiences, model car paint's absolutely 100% the worst way, especially with the brush it gives you. Don't even waste your time. Okay, so people will say, oh, we're going to put some ink on a brayer and roll it across the top. Absolutely 100% not going to work. Don't even waste your time. I already tried it and regretted it instantly. The next thing were these kind of foam brushes. I thought for some reason this would be a good idea. This foam is too soft. Absolutely not working. It makes a big mess. Don't even waste your time with this. So I went to Hobby Lobby. They had some with some denser foam. Same thing. Don't waste your time. In these brushes, it has like a dabber. This, we're going to demonstrate this one. This one kind of works a little bit, but you can mess things up with it too. So we're going to try that one. Okay, so I had some dry erase markers. They have a pretty stiff eraser thing. I was going to use that as like a paint pen and dab it. Does not work. Don't waste your time. I got different types of foam and tried to kind of lightly, carefully. Doesn't work. Don't waste your time. The dabber works, but it's because you have control over it with the handle. Okay, I tried all kinds of experiments. This tip is just too big. The big giant paint pen, don't even try it. Not worth it. And then I got another silver leaf marker, had some good results. So the paint pen worked pretty good, so we went and got oil-based paint pens in 2 sizes, because this is probably gonna be the best way to do it. We'll demonstrate it. This is oil-based, so we have to use oil-based paint. This stuff's real thick, and when you start to thin it with your mineral spirits, you can run into some big problems with it getting blotchy and thinned out. So you kind of got to use this without thinning it too much. If you're going to paint it with a brush, you cannot use these cheap, like kids craft brushes. You have to get you an artist brush. We're going to demonstrate painting it by hand. Both of these brushes like this can be $10 or $15 a piece. Okay, so the problem with doing it by hand is that these up here, the thin letters, are going to screw you up real bad trying to do it with a brush. You're going to have brush strokes, but especially like on the letter B, you're going to end up with some type of brush strokes just because of how complex it is. 1s and 7s, you can pretty much get away with those. So we're in an air-conditioned room. It's about, I don't know, it's under 70 degrees. We're going to try the first test. We're going to try to paint it by hand. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and demonstrate on the B, because that's the one that you're pretty much going to screw up. Is just paint the flat raised part. You know, so if you could take like a mini roller, that might work, but I couldn't find a mini roller that was that small. So we're just kind of going on the top, and then that way if you screw up, you can kind of go over the little ridge a little bit. So hopefully we don't screw up. I already don't like it. All right, I'm gonna pass on it. It's already thinning out, man. See the B, the hardest one. Okay, still I'm not feeling this painting it by hand. Okay, so I'm just trying to give you the idea with the brush. It's gonna have little strokes and stuff in it like that. The 7 came out a little better. Now it's gonna flatten out when it dries, but painting it with a brush, I just don't think it's a good idea. So the next thing I tried was this little stamping method. This works okay, but it's gonna leave it with a texture. Tamp this on the top, light as possible. Make sure you got plenty of paint. Now see, it's textured, but it's a little bit more even. Okay, so you see it does leave like a little textured edge. Okay, so I was kind of discouraged by the paint pen because this thing worked horribly, the big giant one. And I got kind of frustrated, and I went and got another silver leaf marker I had. Kind of played around with this one, so let's see what this does. And you can see I was super excited after using the paint pen. Still might have some little streaks in it, so you try to do it as fast as you can. Even if you have some little strokes in there, it's not that bad. So I got like dirt and crap in mine because I was using this on a sandblasted plate last night. So those tests are looking pretty good. Now let's try our official blue test and see what happens. So like I said, if you got a bunch of streaks in there, wipe it off. But so far the paint pen is gonna be the best. So let's try to do the top ones. Barely go over these. Just very lightly. Okay, so don't hate me. I'm not gonna finish the plates in this video. The point of this video is trying to figure out how to paint those letters. Those letters set me back a week on this project and actually caused me to destroy my original plate that I had all the bodywork and everything perfect on it. You see what we figured out right here. We got a little bit of streaks, but as you learn to paint that with that pen, you're gonna eliminate a lot of that stuff. Okay, so we bought the fine tip because after this dries, we're gonna go in there, we're gonna straighten up very carefully anything that we may have screwed up. Okay, so another point of the video is getting the correct color for your plate. Now, I don't know if they were bright white and faded, but the antique plate looks so much freaking better. I don't know why. This just, I don't know. I'm not doing that one. I didn't have the picture next to me when I was painting it, but if I did, I would have known to go a little bit thicker. You think you have all this stuff in your mind, but as soon as you start doing it, you get nervous, you start freaking out a little bit. So this is a practice plate, and what we're trying to do is learn how to paint that without those little streaks in it. I was painting silver yesterday, so I kind of got the feel of the way that ink runs and flows, so I got those pretty good. This is the first time I've ever used that blue, and it kind of freaked me out a little bit. It sent chills down my spine because it looked exactly like my friend's original plates. He paid $200 for them. And I think after I get done with these, they are going to pass as 100% originals. Well, they are, but I mean the paint job. So just letting you know how important it is to pick the right colors. You see painted by a brush leaves those marks and stuff. Well, I did it pretty messy. We tamped it. Paint pen ultimately just beats every single method. So this is a test plate. I'm going to sandblast it and start over, but you can see what I'm talking about, that using that paint pen, if you had no clue, you would actually think that there was an original or a restored plate under that. It really looks good. I'm excited in real life about this. I spent about a week, I can't tell you how many hours, trial and error. Spent about $75 trying to figure out how to do this, and it ended up being a $5 paint pen. Don't worry about those streaks. Like I said, learn how to work with that ink and you'll eventually get it. Okay, so these are both test plates. I'm still practicing. I'm going to actually do all of these in blue until I'm 100% confident. Both of these plates are going to be sandblasted. They're going to be completely done all over again, and you'll see them in future videos. Other than that, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.